Well, we have a little segment that I want to get to called the secret sauce.
Listen up, it's the secret sauce.
Secret sauce is this question is, hey, what tips can you give to current owners? What's your maybe like your number one or two tips that you can give to current owners to help them improve their business right now?
Well, I think I gave you two in the beginning, two already.
You've given a ton.
You need more laundry carts, and you need to assess which ones you need. And I know you can get extenders so they can't take them out the door, but I think laundry carts are a big plus to keep your customers in place. The other one was the makeup air, which I think is a huge area. One of the things that I still do to this day, which you're going to think is funny, is when I meet with an owner at a laundromat and we're going to talk about, I just stop by Charlie and say, hey, Charlie, what's going on? He goes, hey, I'll be at the laundromat. Okay, I'll go by and see him just to keep the relationship going. And, maybe they've had a laundromat for 3 or 4 years and maybe I assisted them in buying it. Maybe I didn't. I just know who they are and I go in and talk with them. And I always can find something operationally that I can point out and say, if I were you, I would, here's, okay. And the makeup air is one. And basically I would take a piece of paper or a wad of lint or something I could find in the trash can, like a bounce. And I'd go to the door that has access to the back of the dryers and I'd get them. I'd bend down and put this piece of paper or whatever I have right at the bottom of the door and it would just get sucked right in. So I said, your dryers they're just starving for air. You can't give them enough air. So I tried to say, look, there's 3 things you can do. Dryers like to do this. This is how they talk about the circulation. You get the makeup air to combustion air to exhaust.
Right.
Okay? So at the top, I would put in the ceilings, you put the egg crates, which allows the air to go up and in front of the dryers and get sucked into the top above the T-bar ceiling. And those are the egg crate ceiling tiles that they make. Mm-hmm. And then if you don't do that, I put exhaust fans above the curtain wall, above the dryers to suck and force the air behind the dryers. And then below, I sometimes tell people to cut a hole in that door to allow the air to get to and fro in the bottom of it to create a venturi effect that will feed those dryers and give them more air, which if they get more air and they're burning properly, your gas bill is going to drop. Mm-hmm. It's just a natural phenomenon. And then you can always call your local gas company, and in Southern California Gas, and you can have them come out and they'll tell you whether or not your pilot lights are burning at the right color. They'll just look at it and go, too rich, starved, or whatever. Then you can get a game plan together with your mechanic on how to make sure that those dryers get what they need in order to burn efficiently. And those 2 points right there, I think, are the laundry carts and the makeup air will allow you to, one, save money, but actually your customers will be a lot happier and you'll have more satisfaction in your laundromat if you can do those 2 things.
I love the secret sauce because we've never heard anything like those 2 tips. So, I mean, I think those are great tips and they're super actionable, right? Like you can go out, jump online right now and order laundry carts and have them delivered, in the next week to your laundromat. So get out there and do it. I'll probably go order a couple more. I'm not quite at that 10 per 1,000 square feet. So I know I need to add a few.
I'm going to give you an Andy tour. Okay. And I'm going to talk about laundry carts. So Jordan calls me on the phone and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying a laundromat. And I'll go, okay, send me the setup sheet. And I'll get the setup sheet and I'll mark up the setup sheet and I'll send it back to you. And we'll talk about the cash flow. And you go, I still like the laundry. Let's take a look at it. So when I drive up to a location, now it doesn't matter if it's a new location that you want to build a new store or it's an existing laundromat. So I'm driving down the street and I look at the location and I pass it and I drive, depending upon where I'm at, a half a mile east, a half a mile north, a half a mile west, and a half a mile south, and I will survey what's there. Now, when I come back to this location, The first thing I'm looking for, is it on the corner? Does it have a signal or a stop sign? Is there a crosswalk? Is it in line? Meaning, is it down the street and it's not on a corner? And is there a competitor across the street? Are all the apartments or the rental houses across the street? People have to walk across. Well, most women and their little chicklins are not going to walk across the street if there's a laundromat on their side. Okay. And the only way they'll do that is if they're a crosswalk. And if it's a big boulevard, forget it. I'm also looking at, what are the natural boundaries? Is there a river? Is there a freeway? Is there a railroad track? These are going to prevent people from coming. They're natural barriers. Okay. Particularly in the cities and the neighborhoods that you and I are used to looking at and seeing, you're like, oh, okay. Natural barriers. And then I look at parking, exposure, ingress and egress in the shopping center. Where is the laundry in the shopping center? Is it in the crotch where the 2 points meet? Does it have a lot of glass? Are there drink and snack and vending machines and candy machines all blocking the glass so that people can't see out and people can't see in? Another safety factor. I don't like machines. I don't like anything in my windows if I can avoid it. I get everything out of my windows. I want the people in there to be able to see out, and I want somebody to be able to see in to see what's going on, because at night, that's what you need. Okay. I'm going to go at night to see if the parking lot's well lit. And if it's not, I'm going to mark down the lights that are out and tell the guy and get the landlord to fix those lights because you don't have any safety or security here. Then I'm going to look at who my tenants are. Liquor store, barbershop, nail salon, dental store. These all eat up parking. So during my normal hours, they're going to compete with me for parking. After hours, most of these aren't open. I get the parking. But how much of that is my business? 30%, 35, 40% at night. So I then get out of my car, and is it safe to get out? Is there parking in front of the laundromat? Or is the parking in the parking lot and I'm walking 20 or 30 feet to get into the laundry? And then I look at you and say, where are my laundry carts? And I walk in there, and you'll be surprised. You'll laugh. The next time you go into a laundromat and your competitors, you're just going to start to laugh. You're going to go, this guy's only got 11 laundry carts and he has 3,000 square feet. How are you surviving? I mean, you want to spend, what are they, $1.50 now? $1.30, $1.50? Give me 5, just under $1,000, $750, right? You could pick up. The average laundry customer is between $50 and $70 a month. That's a family of 3.5. Okay. So what if you picked up 2 more people because you have carts? You have no idea. It's just another thing. So now I'm looking at carts. I walk in the door and I'm looking at the floor and I'm looking at the ceiling. Now, ceiling tiles. Another pearl for you, for our customers. Okay. You have a leak in the roof. Everybody does. Okay. Well, it could be condensation, okay, from the pipes, okay? It could be an actual leak, but you don't know. And it's not for you to worry about. When you replace that tile, don't replace it. Take the new tile and put the new tile underneath it and leave the water tile above it so it acts like a sponge, and you will save on ceiling tiles because it'll absorb whatever moisture's coming through, because it already has. It just looks bad. Now you have a clean tile up there for the most part. For another 6 months, it's going to stay clean. When it starts to leak, you take the old one off, you put another one underneath it, and it acts like a sponge. Simple way to save your ceiling and make it look nice.
That's a good tip.
Okay. So now you walk into the laundromat and you're looking around, and what am I looking for? I know that trash on the floor isn't going to push people away. Overflowing trash cans will, because then it's going to go on top of the counter. Then it's going to go here. Also, the the Watchman newspapers that you don't get to advertise in my laundromat unless you want to pay for it. There's no rent. There's no this. There's none of those bulletin boards that they have outside or inside. All trash. No phones. We all have cell phones now. But I could tell you a story of when I was when I first did Lucy's in Inglewood, where we had a drug problem outside, and there were 4 phones. And phones, like newspaper racks, they can put anywhere they want. They're not regulated. But if you touch them, it's grand theft. They can put them where they want, but you can't touch them. So they wouldn't take the phones out. So I just set about leaving every night. I would take silicone caulk and I would fill in the quarter slots with silicone. And it only took me about a month and they removed the phones. Even after I asked them to remove the phones, because it was a drug problem and people weren't coming to my laundromat. That was me. And this was 1987 or something like that.
Yeah. Not an issue anymore. For those of you who don't know, there used to be phones that you put quarters into to be able to call people. These are called pay phones.
Right. So now I'm in the laundromat. So I'm looking for trash. I'm looking for the ceiling. And now I'm looking at the overall layout of the store. And as I walk through it, I either chuckle or I smile because I'm looking at, those are 35-pound Milners. Those are 35 years old. I mean, okay. Now I'm okay. All right. 16 quarters. All right. $4. Okay. All right. Okay. 35. All right. Okay. You're in the right range. Okay. All right. And you see 8 of them and 4 are working and 4 look like they've just got baseball bat beaten. And you're like, I don't understand this. And then you look in there and you go, okay, so I do a quick poundage reading on the machines. And I don't care what your machine is, 1020s, 830s. I'm doing my math. And then I just look at all the dryers and every dryer is a 30-pounder unless they're new ones. And I do the math and I see if they have the proper amount of ratio of poundage to poundage. Again, I like to have a little more. Sometimes you have a little less. But now I'm looking at mix. I'm looking at flow. Do I have machines that are against a wall so that, and they don't do it anymore. They used to. I haven't seen too many today, but I like to see a free-flowing laundromat where people can walk in the laundromat without getting stopped. Mm-hmm. In the older days, they used to have some laundromats where the machines came out of the walls. And if you were doing your washing, you were in there, you had no way to escape. Well, that's just making the person who's doing their laundry fearful that they can't get out of a situation if someone came in the door and said, how do I get out of here? So I'm looking at the layout. I'm looking at the equipment. I'm looking at the age of the equipment. I'm looking at, are all the lights on? Do they have lights? Are they all working? Are they all functional? And then I leave the store and I sit down in my car and I rate ingress and egress. And that's how I look at a laundromat every time I go to a new laundry. And I count the laundry carts and I give it a grade. And then I sit down with you and say, here's what my discovery was at this particular laundromat. Here's where I think you can improve. You can call me today and say, come down and look at my laundromat. Tell me what you think of them. Because I haven't been into your stores. So I'd be more than happy to do that. So, but it just takes another set of eyes, not yours. And it's one of those like, hey, I think I'll do this every 6 months. I'll just have somebody come in and look at my store from their perspective. And it could be another owner that you know in Orange County. Say, hey, come by and rip my store apart. And you get that. I mean, because you realize you're really not in competition with each other.
Right.
You're just trying to gain the mass of people that need their clothing washed. And how do I provide for them? So your competition is really yourself. How can I provide this neighborhood? And you and I can talk about in the future, we can do another podcast of demographics, how they impact you. What do they really mean? What do you look for? What's the average family spend? An example, I'll just give you a little tidbit. Somebody said, I look at renters and I get it down to a number and I multiply that number I divide it by the number of people per household. And in Hispanic communities, I know that it's probably double. So if they say there's 3.5, there's 6 people living in that house. It's just the way they work. But that household is $50 to $70 per household. So you're doing $25,000 in your laundromat, not including wash, dry, and fold, and not including vending, because vending is an adjunct to your wash. Mm-hmm. I take that $25,000 and I divide it by Orange County. I'm going to divide it by 60. You've got 425 permanent customers coming to your shopping center every week to do their wash. Those are your numbers. And if you wanted to, you could sit down and put a percentage to each day of the week, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, and you could figure out approximately how many people are coming to your laundromat on Fridays as a percentage, and then divide that by 16 hours. You're going to go, geez, I don't have a lot of people coming in here. Now the question becomes, how do I get them in here?
Right.
And then it goes back to, if I had more parking, I could do more volume. If I had more volume, I need more dryers. If I had more dryers, I need more washers. And now it becomes one of those, oh my God, I'm chasing my tail here. But that's, when you're doing that, then you're doing it right.
I love that. I mean, again, the systematic approach is something that I think is missing. Even with most brokers that I've worked with, that I've seen, they're not taking the systematic approach. A lot of them are just kind of basing off their experience. And so they have like these, general knowledge where they can kind of get ballpark and stuff like that. But I love the systematic approach. And again, treating your business like a business, right? And that's what you're doing. That's what you're saying when you're going through. I mean, I was taking all kinds of notes while you were talking about your process and stuff like that, because I think even just having an owner do that for themselves. And I love the advice of having somebody come in every 6 months and just tear your laundromat apart. It terrifies me to death to have that happen, but it's way better to be critiqued by somebody who knows and to be able to make, adjustments to improve your business than to be ignorant of that stuff and not feel that uncomfortable feeling of saying, hey, here's some things that I'm not doing optimally that I could do better. Right. That feels scary to me, but ultimately, if you want to grow your business, it's like that whole iron sharpens iron kind of thing, right? You have somebody come in and telling you how to improve your business. It's only going to benefit you. And as important, it's going to benefit your customers and your community that your laundromat's in. Right.
You'll laugh, and I'm going to use you so that everybody can see that you're human. When was the last time you surveyed your competition?
Oh, I was thinking this. I don't even want to talk about that. I was like, man, I need to go back. It's probably been 2 years at least since I've gone out and looked at the competition.
And you'd be surprised. I'll give you a story. I got a guy in LA, and we found out that he only has one competitor. That competitor has equipment the same age as his equipment, which is 20 years. So this neighborhood has not had a resurgence of new equipment for 20 years. That's shocking. But it's also a benefit to him, because we went in there and said, what do we need to change? How do we need to change it based on the competition and based on the machines that the other competitor has? We're going to put new equipment in here. You'll do just fine. Mm-hmm. Because in that case, since they haven't seen new equipment, once they see new equipment, it's not so much that it's new, it's they know it'll work.
Right. Yep.
Even if it's a quarter more, it won't matter. They'll be at his door. So.
Well, we have another. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, that was awesome, man. I mean, that whole secret sauce thing was incredible. Right. There was so much good stuff in there.